Happy Friday, everyone. I've got another scoreboard update today. As I've said in the past, scoreboard updates are some of my favorite videos to do. There's been some confusion on the scoreboard itself, which I will address at the end of this video, but Professor Dave is now on the scoreboard for Team Globe. Dave Farina runs a YouTube channel called Professor Dave Explains, and if you've not been living under a rock, you have heard of Professor Dave, as he has over 3.3 million subscribers. And he's also a predominant face in the flat earth versus globe debate. You cannot research flat earth for too long before you stumble onto one of his videos on the topic. Professor Dave got onto the official TFE scoreboard by interviewing me. And in addition to interviewing me, he made a video about TFE and everything that has transpired up until this point from his perspective. And he did it in typical Professor Dave fashion. Here's a clip.
Wow, this fellow named Will Duffy is gonna pay for a flat earther to go to Antarctica. And you heard those guys, they're all dying to go, so I'm sure they'll be lining up to take advantage of this generous offer, right? I mean, of course they would. Why would they say they want to go to Antarctica and then refuse a free trip to Antarctica? I mean, that would be insane. That would make them pathetic, hypocritical, lying frauds, right? And flat earthers are famous for their intellectual integrity, so I am 100% positive that all of them will want to go. I mean, how could this go any other way?
I have a link in the description if you want to watch the entire video, and our interview is at the end. Now, Professor Dave and I have something in common. That might surprise you at first, but it's true. People like to make fun of Professor Dave by saying he's not a real professor. I've heard people refer to him as not a Professor Dave. So what does this have to do with me? We all know I'm no professor. Well, a similar complaint has been lodged against me, including yesterday by my flat earth friend, Wendy. She told me that the final experiment is not an experiment. I'd say on average, I hear a flat earther tell me that TFE is not an experiment about once per day. Well, ignoring the fact that TFE is an experiment, and if you disagree, I have a simple challenge for you. Explain to me why the Bedford level experiment is an experiment and TFE is not. Flat earthers have been parading the Bedford level experiment for many years. So ignoring the fact that TFE is definitely an experiment, I'm going to offer some advice for anyone who wants it. You know the famous phrase, you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make it drink? Well, this applies to humans too. You can lead a man to wisdom, but you can't make him think. So here goes. When you go out of your way to say Professor Dave is not a real professor, or you call him not a Professor Dave, that makes it appear that you cannot respond or refute his actual arguments. Because if you could, you just would, right? Going out of your way to poke fun at his YouTube channel's name makes it seem like you know inside that you are lacking substantive arguments against him, and so you need to grasp at anything else you can to make your position look stronger. Well, this has the opposite effect you think it does. It doesn't make your position look stronger. It actually makes you look weaker. The same is true when people tell me that the final experiment is not an experiment. Again, if you had a substantive argument against what we are doing in going to Antarctica and documenting the path of the sun through the sky, you would offer that instead. But since there really isn't any valid argument against doing actual science and observing reality and exploring our world to better understand it, people choose to try and discredit TFE by saying it's not an experiment. Again, it's an experiment, just like the Bedford level experiment. But if it will help us move to real arguments against TFE, just pretend the E stands for expedition. So the final expedition. And then we can have a real discussion on what TFE will prove or not prove in less than 2 short months. All right, we have continued to have confusion on the TFE scoreboard. Here is the latest scoreboard on our homepage. The scoreboard is super important, and it is not showing who is actually going to Antarctica. An experiment with the magnitude of TFE is way bigger than just those who are going to have boots on the ground in the Great White Desert of the South. Here is an analogy to help clear the confusion. Our scoreboard is those who were invited to participate in TFE and have agreed to participate. Look at this like the credits after a movie. Almost all the people listed in the credits after a movie were not on camera. They were not in the movie, and you don't even know what they look like. But guess what? Without them, the movie would never have happened. Hollywood movies are way bigger than the famous actors and actresses on the big screen. The people behind the scenes, including the directors and producers and everyone else, are crucial to making that movie come to fruition. It's the same for TFE. Everyone choosing to participate is a crucial aspect to making TFE happen. I chose to put the credits front and center on our homepage because these are the people who are promoting TFE. These are the people making suggestions to make our experiment a more robust experiment. And these are the people who deserve credit for making this into what it has become. Now, to continue the analogy, the Hollywood actors and actresses are the stars and they get the most recognition and red carpet time because they are the ones on camera. Well, we have those too. Our stars are those who will be in Antarctica with us this December. You know, Jaron Campanella, Dave McKeegan, Austin Whitsitt, MC Toon, Lisbeth Acosta, and Critical Think. These people will get the most recognition and the most on-camera time as all eyes turn to Antarctica on December 14th when our plane lands on the blue ice runway. And while I'm extremely excited that there are 3 people from each side of the debate who will be on location with TFE in Antarctica, everyone else participating are just as important to the success of this experiment. And the scoreboard rewards those and recognizes those who have helped us in a way that they could. Oh, and for those who keep telling me that the scoreboard is childish and serves no purpose, do me a favor and stop watching sports because they have scoreboards. And you probably should pull your kids out of sports because they have scoreboards there too. And how about this? On family game nights, just stop keeping score and see how much fun that will be. I don't need that kind of negativity in my life. Keeping score makes life fun and interesting, and there's nothing wrong with a little friendly competition once in a while. Hey, I hope everyone has a great weekend. I am really getting overwhelmed as we leave for Antarctica in less than 8 weeks, but I do have some significant updates that I hope to share next week, so I'll see you then.